Hello friends, Nayaswami Hriman here, and it's time to ask a yogi. I had a question come to me in writing by email from somebody in America, a young mother, and she writes, in order to have a moral compass in life as devotees, especially as a mother guiding her children, we need to follow moral values. What are moral values? The universal spiritual moral values that never change. What does Paramahansa Yogananda say about that? Yogananda's first public activity as a young monk was to start a school for boys. Eventually it grew into boys and girls. And so this was dear to his heart. And my friend and spiritual teacher and founder of Ananda Worldwide Communities, Swami Kriyananda, who was a direct disciple trained by Yogananda, also started a series of schools which we call Living Wisdom Schools, based on Swami Kriyananda's landmark book in education and parenting called Education for Life. So this is a very important subject. I feel it's as a father of adult children, this is a very meaningful question to me. I see so many spoiled children, so many angry teenagers. I say but I think we all see that, and in the West certainly, and maybe increasingly in other countries now too, with prosperity. And it's partly because exactly what you're saying. We don't instill into our children moral values because we're so busy giving them things and pleasing them, asking what they like and what they don't like, hovering like helicopters over every trivial need and emotion of our children. In my generation, which started to come into young adulthood in the 60s, the so-called hippie generation, and ever since then, really, there's this idea that my child is my best friend, and I just want to love my child, and all that. That's wonderful, but that's actually not your job. Your job is to guide your child, to have a life of prayer and meditation so that you can develop both non-attachment to over-identifying yourself with that child and being overprotective on the one hand, and at the same time to learn the intuition on what are my child's qualities and characters, what are those that need a little bit of improvement, and where are the strengths that can be encouraged, and so on. So there definitely are universal spiritual values, and Paramahansa Yogananda was very strong in these, in inculcating these into the life of a child. We need to start with non-attachment. The baby grows in the womb of the mother, is born, grows, and eventually walks out the front door into adulthood. The entire process from the moment of conception, where, mother and father unite in love, from that moment forward, that child begins to grow, and it's a process of increasing non-attachment and increasing non-identification. You don't know what karma that child has or what their relationship to you is in this life. And so having a life of prayer and meditation and living by universal moral values is your example to the child is more important. You're not going to be preaching to a young child, and in fact, you don't really preach to children at all when you get right down to it. Your preaching is how you behave. So what you do to be wise, moral, etc., is the greatest thing you can give them. But then you also have to be willing to do what is sometimes the hard work, because discipline isn't hard if you're angry, but that's the whole point. It's difficult to make sure you stay centered and don't get angry, don't react merely out of anger. That gets even increasingly difficult as the child moves into teenage years and they begin to consciously know your weak points and so on. Here are some of those values that I mentioned in my response to this letter. Calmness, learning the art of listening, giving respect and accepting and receiving respect, a simple, glad heart, a joyful countenance, being creative and imaginative, being curious, kind, expressing kindness and sensitivity to other people, including nature and animals as well as other people and their needs, exhibiting self-control when it comes to, I'm thinking of children, and it comes to food, let's say, and sweets and desserts and so forth, demonstrating to your children your own self-control. And having a balanced life, good habits of playfulness and rest, study, self-discipline, exercise, and so forth. And perhaps not most of all, but along with these, devotion to God and the saints, respect for wisdom and teachers and elders. There's nothing so pernicious as those parents so common today who, when the child gets disciplined from the teacher at school, that the parents rush to protect and defend the child against the teacher or other parents, as the case may be, imagining, as it were, that your child is perfect. Okay, I think I'll just kind of leave it at that. Parenting is really one of the greatest, that along with marriage, is one of the greatest lessons, because both marriage and parenting deal with relationships which are by their nature tend to be coming out of our subconscious. The child literally comes out of the mother's body and is conceived in the all but subconscious act of conception and so on. And so what we're grappling with is in marriage and parenting, we have the opportunity to learn to stand back from our own projections, our own subconscious habits and tendencies, our upbringing, our own desires. There's nothing worse than those kind of parents who project onto their children their own desires, and they want their children to inherit the family business or grow up and be of course you want them to be successful, but they have their own life. How can any parent sensitively tune into an infant and then a toddler and then a young child and not see that that child was born with a lot of their own baggage? They came armed like a bomb, ready to go off. And whatever you can contribute, your job is like that of the doctor, to do no harm. What good we can do stems from what good we are ourselves. Okay, well, easier said than done. I know as a parent, I did the best I could. And I know you're doing the best you can. All right.